Hi, my name is JD and this is my channel Frost and Forest, and today I am going to be doing a VR to Amethyst Ascension. And so this VR is my top 11 favorite decks right now. I will actually say that this was harder than I was expecting it to be. I had to kind of think about it some. I had to, there are some decks that I probably would have added to this list if I had more slots, but I narrowed it down to 11 right now. The other thing I'll say is that likely this would change in the near future. I am not including some of my very favorite decks that are always my favorite decks, like the Creature's Oracle, like the Wisdom of the Kalyak, like the Cosmovisions. All of those decks are just always my favorites, but I wanted to focus on some of the ones that are my favorites right now. The other thing I'll say, if you haven't seen my channel before, I do tend to work with decks very seasonally, and so these decks that I'm showing you are kind of my favorite decks for sort of spring, moving out of winter and into spring. So yeah, that's just some explanation behind how I picked my decks, but we should probably get started with the decks because that's what you're actually here for. So the first deck I'm going to show you is the Soul Cats Tarot. This is a mass market deck. It is obviously cat themed. It is the same artwork by the people who did, it's the same artist, Adam Oler, that did the Smoke, Ash, and Ember, and Oak, Ash, and Thorn. And so because I have those two decks for a long time, I didn't think I needed this deck. I also have a lot of other cat decks. So again, I think I kind of felt like I didn't need this deck. But then in kind of at the end of 2024, I was just feeling like this was the kind of energy I was feeling this past winter. So I decided to get it. And then in January and into February, I used this deck quite a lot. It just felt right. It has sort of a spring, maybe slightly wintry vibe to it, especially because we didn't get a lot of snow this year. And so I just really enjoyed using this deck. And I'm happy I had it. Even though I have other cat decks, I'm happy that I decided to get this deck. And part of the reason why I love this deck, first of all, is that the Pentacles are all Maine Coon cats, which I've known some Maine Coon cats and they're very sweet. And also the other reason I really like this deck is because some of the cats have wings. Like this one. And when I was a kid, there was this children's story called The Cat Wings. And I loved that story as a kid. And so for me, this deck also just kind of brings me back to the magic of being a child. So yeah, this is a great deck. I used it a lot in January and into February. The next deck I'm going to show you is also a deck that I used a lot in January and February. It actually kind of surprised me that I loved it so much. It is the Earth Angels message cards. And the art in this deck is beautiful. It is, I believe, by Amanda Clark. The art is beautiful. And so that is a no-brainer. But I am not usually an affirmation deck person. I have a few affirmation decks, but I don't maybe like 2 others, but I don't commonly use affirmation decks. But for some reason, I just was really drawn to using this deck this winter. And I think it's part of it, you know, that there's a lot of negativity in the world right now. And so I needed a little bit more of positivity. And so I was using this a lot to just pull a card at the end of doing a reading, just as like a final message to kind of maybe leave the reading in a little bit slightly more positive place. I also think that this deck, while it is an affirmation deck and does come off as pretty positive, it doesn't feel too positive, like everything is amazing positive, but also like just reframing things and thinking about things differently. And so because of that, I think it is an affirmation deck that I can get along with. Like, you know, the idea of letting go is good for you. That is a positive thing, but it's not toxically positive, I guess. And so, yeah, this is another deck that I've really been loving. And I was kind of surprised. I mean, I knew I was going to love the art, but I didn't really realize how much I was going to start using this deck this year. Okay, so that was the Earth Angels message cards. Okay, what deck do I want to talk about next? I'm going to talk about one that I've been talking about a lot lately, but I really love it, and it kind of hasn't left my table since I got it. So I think it deserves to be talked about some more. And so this is the Tarot of the Guiding Muse. This deck I used in my March Madness. It was one of the contenders. Did not make it very far, partially because it's huge. I think partially because I was just getting to know it. But I've just been really liking it. I don't know, it just, like I've said in some of my other videos, it feels like it helps just kind of celebrate everyday life and the small things in life that make life good. And so I think it's just, that's kind of what I've been looking for. It also, I think, does some of the negative cards really well. And the colors are beautiful. And I like this sort of quirky, like Victorian-esque feel that comes into it. So yeah, it's just a deck that I've really, really been liking. And so, yeah, this is another one. And so even though it's giant, it is been one that I've been using a lot. It's so beautiful. I love the pink in this one. I love the texture in it. I love the feelings it evokes. It's just I love the use of color. It's just a great deck. And I'm actually going to pull out another one of the decks that I have been loving because they pair kind of nicely together. Another deck that I have been absolutely loving, and I only just got super recently, but it is the Pink Sugar Oracle. And I've actually been using these 2 decks together, so that's why I wanted to pull this one out next. I think that the Guiding Muse has enough little pops of pink that can get brought out with the Pink Sugar. And so this, and again, this is also another deck that kind of has, you know, using everyday life objects. And so between them, these two have just been pairing amazingly together. And so I've really been enjoying both of these decks. They make me happy. I'm definitely a pink person. I guess I'm not actually a pink person. I don't wear pink, but I like looking at pink. So yeah. So I'm going to transition to the pink sugar alone. Yeah, so this is a deck I just got. But since I've got it, I loved it. And I just enjoy looking at it because it's so pink and shiny. And I don't know if you can see it, but it kind of just, it shines. When I first got this deck, I showed it to my husband right away because I was super excited about it. And he thought it was kind of a fun deck. You know, millennials and pink, we're into pink. I can't help it. So yeah, this is just a deck that makes me happy. And it's beautiful, and it's simple, but also it's so creative. I mean, all of the backgrounds, the bubblegum backgrounds are completely different so that they really are, you know, centered on what's in the card. So like this one, everything centers around the candle, and the shininess just makes it fun. So yeah, even though I've only had this deck for maybe a week, I already love it. Okay, so that was my 1, 2, 3. This was my 4th deck that I'm showing you. While we are on the pink theme, I'm going to show you my next favorite deck. This is the Tarot of Aphrodite. This is the 1st edition of the deck. And this is a deck that I have been using a lot lately. It is, especially used it in February around Valentine's Day. I was just going for that pink energy. I actually have the 1st and the 2nd edition. The 1st edition did not really come with a guidebook, so I kind of keep both of them because I actually prefer the 1st edition because it is more pink, and the cards are, I think, a teeny bit smaller, so they're easier for me to shuffle. But I just think this is a beautiful deck. And it is probably one of the fine art decks that I have that I use the most. So yeah, this is just a deck I've been loving. I don't particularly work with Aphrodite, so I know that, you know, some people have different views on this deck, but I like it because I think it's a fine arts deck that feels very feminine and feels very pink. And so because of that, it is a deck that I love. It also has kind of a Valentine's Day, maybe even you could use it around Easter time, I don't know. But yeah, it's a beautiful deck. The next deck that I am going to share with you that I've really been loving is the Spirit Carrier Oracle. This is a deck, another deck that I got pretty recently. It was a deck that I originally saw on Kickstarter, and I thought about backing it, but there were a lot of other decks that I was thinking about at the time, and so I had to make choices. But then I kept thinking about this deck, so I ended up deciding to pre-order it later on. And one of the things that I love about this deck is for me, the keywords are really good. Discern reality. They just, they mean a lot to me. And so I actually don't end up using the guidebook very much for this. I just kind of use the keywords and kind of see the feeling that I get from the card and kind of just go with it. But part of why I love this deck so much is that I love all of the different textures. That is one of the things that I love about some decks, is just texture. I love seeing it. I don't know. It's just my favorite when something has different interesting textures. And so I think that that's what drew me to this deck. Like, just the whole, there's stone, there's this lace, there's also what maybe is fake plants. But it just, yeah, I really like it. Sometime, at some point, I'm going to do a video with all of my decks that have my favorite textures in them. I just haven't fully figured that out yet, but at some point. Like, look at this card, Best Outcome. I just love the smoothness of the wood, but also kind of that slight texture to it, but then the like more true smoothness of the stone. I don't know. I just love it. It also kind of has a slight like wintry, end of winter vibe to it when the snow is starting to melt to me. So this feels like a deck for sort of this time of year. So yeah, this is another deck that I am really loving right now. Next deck I'm going to share with you is the Smoke, Ash, and Ember Tarot. This is a deck I absolutely love. I love dragons. I love the artwork. I love the interpretations of this deck. And the reason I included it in this is because this is a deck that I always pull out around springtime. I use it a lot in March and April. For whatever reason, it just has that very springtime feel to me. And so I really enjoy using this deck. For me, this is a very caring deck. I use it a lot of times when I need a deck that's going to be more gentle, because for whatever reason, that's just how this deck reads for me. But it is just a very sweet deck. I love the suit of cups because we have, of course, now there's not cups, but I love the suit of cups because there are the dragons that are like mermaid dragons, which I think is really fun. Yeah, there's some mermaid dragons. Yeah, and so this is just a really sweet deck and I love it. I can never see myself getting rid of this deck. And it's one that I always pull out this time of year. So yeah, this is the Smoke, Ash, and Ember, and it is one of my favorite decks. Next deck that I am going to share with you that is a deck that I love is the Stardust Wanderer Tarot. This deck is one that I was kind of surprised that I like as much as I do. I got this deck, well, so I saw it come out on Kickstarter, I think, or maybe pre-order, and I kind of looked at it and I thought, oh yeah, I mean, I love the purples in it, but I wasn't really sold on it. I'm not really a space person necessarily. And so I didn't get it then. And then it came out and I kind of kept an eye on it, but I just kind of held off on getting it for a while. And then for some reason, one day I decided to get it and I just used it and it just worked for me. It gave me some amazing readings and it really surprised me. I love this Hermit card. Look at how beautiful that is. It just surprised me. And so even though, you know, space cowboys or not cowboys, space pirates. Maybe not my thing. For whatever reason, this deck just worked really well for me. And so now it is a deck that is one of my favorites. It's maybe not my top favorite, but right now it is a deck that I'm using quite a bit. Oh yeah, perfect example. So there was a mix-up and the Empress card got labeled the Emperor and vice versa. And so she gave you little stickers, and so you can see that this was labeled the Emperor, but it is supposed to be the Empress. I put the stickers on there. Honestly, I don't really notice it until I pull that card, so it doesn't really bother me. Oh, I love this High Priestess so much. This is such a beautiful card. This is one of the cards that kind of sold me on getting this deck. I just like the purple and the softness and the purple hair. Yeah, I love this deck. So this is surprisingly one of my favorite decks right now. It's just a fun deck. So yeah, that was Stardust Wanderer. One of the things that I think has come out of the world being a little bit crazy right now is that for some reason I have started to be drawn to darker decks. I didn't used to be drawn to darker decks, so I don't know if it was coming out of winter and darker days or what, but I have really been interested in darker decks. And so that means, you know, I'm using decks like the Bohemian Gothic right now. I'm using decks like the Witch's Tarot sometimes. And so I'm going to show the next 3 decks. The last 3 decks that are my favorites are ones that I have been using to try to scratch that sort of darker itch right now. The first one I have is the Haunted Manor Oracle. I debated showing this deck because I know it's out of print, but it is a unicorn deck of mine that I was able to get at one point. Like, this was like the unicorn deck for me that I was able to get. And so I have been using it with a lot of the decks that I talked to you about. So I've been using it with the Bohemian Gothic. I've been using it with my Horror Tarot. I've been using it with the Witch's Tarot. Just a lot of these darker decks. It's just an oracle that goes really well with those. And so that's why I decided to share it, because it is a deck that I'm using a lot with some of these ones. And I've actually been finding these dark decks to be they're helping me see the brighter side almost, which I think is kind of ironic, but it just, you know, like I've gotten this card a couple of times, the Water Wheel, Better Days Are Coming, and so for some reason I've just been attracted to them. And this, I think, is a beautiful deck. Yeah. So this was the Haunted Manor Oracle. The next deck, and this kind of goes along with the darker theme. This is the Void Tarot. So this is another one that I have been using with the Haunted Manor Oracle. It just helps scratch that darker deck itch. I'm happy I was able to get this deck. I have the 2nd edition, so my understanding is that the cardstock in the 1st edition was better. I do find this deck kind of floppy when I try to shuffle it, but I also like the deck enough that that doesn't bother me. So yeah, this is the deck that I love right now. And I think it's really beautiful. So yeah, this is the Void Tarot. The last deck that I am going to show you is one that I've also been loving. It is also a darker deck, and I do want to just kind of give a warning that this is kind of a creepy deck. And so if you're not into creepy decks, then thank you so much for stopping by, and it was great to see you, because this will be the last deck I show. But if you are into creepy decks and would like to see it, this is the Ominous Oracle. This is the deck I got a little while ago. This one and the Witches Tarot I have been using a lot together. This is just, I don't know, it's kind of a creepy deck, but for some reason I really like it. And I like that some of the cards creep me out quite a bit. And I like that some of the cards make me a little bit uncomfortable. Maybe there's some shadow work to do there, but I don't know. I like this deck. I don't like that deck. I don't like that card as much. But it definitely is kind of a creepy deck. So I have to be intentional about when I use it. Probably not going to use this deck in the middle of the night, because then I might creep myself out way too much. But yeah. Don't like that card. That card makes me a little uncomfortable. But anyway, so this is another deck I've been using to kind of fit that creepy vibe. So yeah, those are the 11 decks that I'm loving right now. Kind of a mix of like super bright and sportive and really, really creepy. So it seems like I'm kind of going between those right now. I hope you have enjoyed this. Thank you so much, Amethyst Ascension, for making this tag and, you know, getting us to think about the decks that we love right now. And I will see you all in the next video. Thanks for stopping by.